God shall take us while alive. If you have strong faith, you will stay alive. If you live with love, you shall survive. Things and times so tough, oh yeah. Don't it get so tough? We never get enough. Jah vengeance is on the land. Jah vengeance is on the land, yeah. All the trouble in the world today. Tell me, things and times so hard. No peace, no day higher. The vengeance of Jah, it must be on the land. It must be on the land, yes. What we have to do, money can't help you, oh no. Rich man not feel it too. Jah vengeance is on the land. Jah vengeance is on the land, my brother. It is up to people shall survive. Yeah, yeah. Strongest of the strongest stay alive. A weak heart shall take us while alive. If you have strong faith, you will stay alive. If you live with love, you shall survive. Live with love, my brother. Yeah. People, what is the cause of all the trouble in the world? No peace, no day higher. The vengeance of Jah, it must be on the land. It must be on the land.
Greetings. Teens and Times stay with you with their reflection. And I must say to Brother Jay, Round Table, and family, thanks. We say thanks to you, brother, seriously. And we appreciate. So this is reflection. We're going to deal with education, and we're going to go straight to one of our veterans, more than able, and we love them, and may God have mercy on his soul. We, as African people, we are very, very special people to ourselves. We have to come to understand that, recognize that, and still reflect that we are the ancestors of the slaves. So our ancestors in the diaspora existed before slavery. They had their culture, they had their language, they had their values. But that slavery situation put them and we, their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, in a zero position situation. We were catching up, not realizing that we're catching up. We need to think carefully that our language, we weren't allowed to, most of us weren't allowed to communicate our language because they found that threatening if we were able to speak to each other. So, saying that, they were able to communicate with themselves. Now, we grew to hear about Latin, and then when English came into, when English became prominent, not even prominent, came into being. So those of us who continues to do research, one of the research should be how many of these people were able to speak Latin fluently, were they scribing in Latin, and when did they transform or transfer from Latin to what became English, and then before English became standardized, what was it? How was it? And you will get a picture and understanding that a lot of these words that we're now trying to attribute them to are from them in terms of the Negro word and the black word and the Moor word, and these are later, much, much later down. And many of these documentation are copies. When English became the language and the text, many writers, I won't call them scholars, were rewriting, and some of them changed the terms, changed many words, put certain words in certain places. Now we're trying to unravel, and because we get a text and they use the word Negro or black, we should be asking, why are they expressing or using those words or to signify or identify with Africans? And then we mustn't even say that, because we can, but Africa, what were they calling the continent before they named it? This word was used because Alcobalan, many people are not finding that. But it's also there. It's just the spelling varies. These things, a lot of these things have caused us a lot of problems. A lot of problems. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful. So I want to go to Sir Dr. Amos Wilson. That's where I want to go. And then I will bring Al-Haji Malika Shabazz to the forefront, and that would be the evening finish. Education is very important. Information and communication is essential. Information is education. Good communication helps us to reason and get good balances, and we ascertain so much from each other, and we can journey together. And sometimes we need to ask ourselves, what is it that I'm trying to project? What is it I'm trying to do? Where am I going? Because we must have a purpose. You know, in work, in education, there's aims and objectives. In life, there's aims and objectives. What I find people are not readily doing is assessing and evaluating what we try to do or what we're doing. You know, so to be a family person, you must, it's compulsory. To be a person in business is compulsory. You know, a person even thinking of business is very important. Even before you get a premises or do anything, it's very important to assess and evaluate. You know, but a family is essential. So I'm gonna get to intelligence and problem solving by Sir Dr. Amos. I have to call him Sir because he's our brother. He's our teacher. So I'm going somewhere to come back somewhere. Greetings.
New civilization. New civilization. All over this land, 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 all over this land. Small one of it, smaller than smaller, when big one refuse from high. Have you own my sister? Come my brother, come help me. Sing my song, my brother. Sing my song, my sister. Sing my song, my brother. All over this land, all over this land, all over this land, all over this land, over and over, yes. New civilization, new civilization.
There's a reason why I played that. I mean, that's vintage, and the group is called the Burning Spear. He's one of the biggest band performers in the world of reggae music today. The largest audience, you know, is for Burning Spear, Winston Rodney. Now that was one of the first recordings. A new civilization today. Think about our ancestors. Our own language, we weren't allowed to speak. How long does anybody think it took us to comprehend what the plantation or the slave masters were saying? How long did it take us to comprehend? Then we can't even think about this reading. We have come a long way. We mustn't make the mistakes and refuse to accept so much and to teach our children and to develop our families understanding that we are a great people. So we shouldn't create animosities for ourselves. We should be spending so much time reflecting, appreciating, and loving ourselves. Find people who have, we can imagine, that's experienced anything that our great grandparents have been through. Our brains will hurt. So America, because of all the Dr. Yorks and all these different peoples bringing all these things to the fore, with the new people that's now fronting the Hebrew, you should understand why it's attractive. And I pray that those correction officers do not mistreat those young men. They stay the course and support them. Because they're seeing themselves as Bani Israel. But they're not calling themselves that because they're not being educated there. They're seeing themselves as Israelites. Because that's the vision that's been given to them, which is good in relation to the journey that their ancestors have went through. But unfortunately, many of them are told and not to see themselves as Africans. So you got that little splinter there. But look at how they present themselves. They present themselves as an alienated band or group or body. They're not being trained and projected to them. They're not being presented or told to present themselves in a harmonious way to us. But yet still they want us to be a part of them. So they're very careful on how they scrutinize people. So the way they dramatize things is part of the scrutiny. But what is being felt here is a projection of what the long-term goal is, what the goal is. But the correction officers, they undertook this mission because it's a safe, long-term position. I'm not putting them down, but in America, you will need to ask them, what is the goal? What's the long-term goal? We don't need any more divisions. We don't. My generation is on the way out. There's another generation that's younger than us that should be flourishing. But with all these things happening, it is distracting them. It's very distractive. Not disruptive, distractive. And we have a lot of negative influences that we're creating for ourselves. We don't see it like that because we don't have bodies that deal with analytical thoughts, and we need that kind of working groups of people. We need to have conferences that look at ourselves and assess ourselves and evaluate ourselves and look back at the journeys that we've undertaken and what was fruitful and what journeys that was started but never came to fruition because of variant things that's happened. Like Dr. King. There's a journey there. They present Dr. King, but no one speaks about the committee. The committee was hurt because obviously Dr. King was assassinated. But the committee did not dissolve. It's the people who ignored the committee. The same nonsense happened with Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey didn't have 100 people. There were millions that were attracted to him, to what he was projecting. But he was arrested and a few others. And then he was deported. And then a huge organization that had a membership exceeding 4 million ceased to exist. Those things need to be investigated, examined, and try to figure out what went wrong, what actually happened, not what went wrong, what actually happened. And there was no comeback from W.D. Du Bois. Du Bois, he went to Freetown. He was always doing something, but what was his take? That information hasn't leaked out, hasn't come out. So the generation above me and the generation of Malcolm, they seem to be starting again and again, no continuation. And that's just because of assessing and evaluating, reflecting on where we were. And we need to be able to do that so we can take the most useful components from all those people that were working for us. Keep starting again is not wise. Give me a position in any school that's already got to have a basketball program running. I'm going to involve myself with the administration naturally, but the head of PE and those people who were there before, so I can have some kind of dialogue. I can't just come and change everything from point blank zero. I'm the only zero there. But there are some programs that, they get rid of everybody. They get rid of the head coach and all of his staff. But then they allow me to have my own staff. Right? So we would have to negotiate, I need a preliminary 6 months or 9 months or 1 year. Because you cannot then expect, any championship runs and things like this. And that's what happens, the greatest in academia. So you can change teachers, but the syllabus is what I have to adhere to. So then it'd be about character, fitting in, and so on. So it's a natural thing. Why don't we do that? And we have so much people that are in academia that knows this. I mean, it's not something that we don't know. But a lot of us ignore it. And these are key components to bringing us, so we share ideas and we have solutions for situations. And, America has a lot of lawyers, a lot of judges and so forth. And yet still, the police is doing the most atrocious things to us. So we've got the people in the right place, but without jurisdictions and lacking authority of power. And that's because we are not there. And they're not, perhaps it's both sides. They're not with us and we're not with them. We need to break that so that we are with each other. So if this person is a mayor in this county that we live within, he's meant to be backing us and we're meant to be backing him or her. Straight. They prove to us that they're trustworthy, and then we support them. Simple. That's what I think. Amos.
See, there's another one of the deceptions we have, and that is the idea that there should be only one definition of intelligence that should apply all across everybody. And that's going to get you in trouble the same way the concept of standard education gets you in trouble as well. The thing, though, that we are emphasizing here then is what all or most definitions of intelligence deal with, and that is goal orientation and adaptive behavior. Goal oriented means that it is conscious and deliberate rather than accidental. So a lot of people think intelligence in its broadest sense is something that sort of happens on people, and it's something that just sort of is just automatically inherited it, and people have it or they don't have it. And I want you to note that intelligence is related to the setting of goals. Goals. And we're going to see in a minute that one of the major reasons for the confusion of black children, one of the major reasons for the kind of educational problems African children have over the world is because we as black adults are not clear about the goals that we want to accomplish as people. Because it is the goals, that we set that organizes and informs intelligence. You see, if you have no goals and no sense of purpose, then there is no organization of the intellectual capacities of your children. We're going to come back to that. You have got to have cultural goals, people. You just can't send your children to school and expect them to learn when you have no real cultural goals and directions and things you want to accomplish. The first thing they ask you is, why am I studying this mathematics? Why do I have to learn this, Mama? Why do I have to read this? And because you have no sense of where you want to go as a people, you're at a loss to telling them to. Well, let get your job. Don't you want to live better than we live? The child's out there looking at people selling crack. Well, what the hell? Why do I have to go through all of this? If this is merely what it's about, you've got to be able to inculcate the children with goals and have a goal orientation in order for them to organize their intelligence. And I'm going to show you, because you have let your future be determined by another people, Your children's minds and brains have nowhere to go. And they have no reasons for learning. Period. I'm telling you. The other aspect of intelligence has to do with the adaptive. The adaptive refers to the fact that intelligence consists of the ability to solve problems. Keep that in mind. To what? To solve problems. Not to score high on the IQ test. That is not intelligence. Not to score high on the SAT. That's coincidental. But to do what? Solve problems. Solve the problems that confront you as a people and solve the problems that confront you as an individual. I don't care how high you score on an IQ test. If you can't solve the problems that confront you as a people and as an individual, you are dumb. And you will be destroyed. See? And I'm telling you, you've heard me say before that regardless of the level of education of black people, from the PhD level on down, there is a certain fundamental dumbness in the black community. Yes, a dumbness. You talk about the crack dealer. Though he makes his thousands per month, and maybe millions, who still doesn't know how to launder the money, still doesn't know how to legitimize the money, gets raided and the money is stacked up in the closet. You know? Doesn't know what to do with it. Period. But he is just as stupid as the black middle classer who takes that little check and takes every ounce of that check and spends it, giving it to a white man to pay inflated rent and other kinds of stuff. Who will not save, who will not invest in the future of the children or in the future of the community. The same idiocy, you know, is characteristic of them both. So you have the same dumbness that runs from the highly educated right down to the one right in the street. You're basically no different. Yeah. I was talking to a Buppy one night, and he was complaining about the cars that the drug sellers were selling and the gold and stuff. I said, but really, brother, he's no fundamentally different from you. In a sense, you're just mad because he can buy the car you can buy. Because you're using that car to distinguish yourself in terms of class and, you know, in terms of who you are, in terms of your status. And he's doing the same thing. So you're functionally operating on the same plane. You see, no difference. And you're just angry that he, being in one class different from yours, is able to conspicuously consume the same way you do. And now you're having a hell of a way determining how can you be distinguished from this person here. It's the same game. You're still feeding white people. You're still buying overpriced junk and garbage. You're still imperiling the future of black people. You should study history in its real aspects. Read Barbara Tuchman's history, I forget what it's called, of the 14th century Europe. Read that. And I'm not one of these Africans to tell you should only read African history. You need to read European history. You must understand European history. You really cannot appropriately understand African history unless you understand European history. I'm telling you, you can't do it. Because the histories are too inextricably intertwined, one with the other. You only get to know the psychology of the European by reading European history. You will know to a good extent. You understand what I'm saying? You've forgotten, haven't you? You've forgotten, huh? How many million people had to be murdered, raped, tortured, robbed, dispossessed? And you think you're dealing with nice, good people, don't you? When you read my new book, you'll see where I talk about European ethics is based on, you know, European criminality. You robbed enough and stolen enough to be nice. That's all it is. If we took that wealth from you, you'd be out here robbing and stealing in these streets like everybody else. You're not intrinsically nice. Don't deceive yourself. Your ethics are bought and paid for. They're not intrinsic within your own character, personality. The ultimate test of one's ethical character is when one is starving and has nowhere to go. Okay? And when one is standing in front of real temptation and you have no money in your pocket, that's when your ethics are tested. Not when you got all the money in the world and you can pretend, oh, I'm nice. You know, come on. We let these people run this game. And they have enough nerve. What am I saying here then? Intelligence then has to do with solving problems. Solving problems. You are not intelligent until you solve the problems that confront whom? You. Yes, you understand? You have let another people define intelligence as the ability to solve their problems, not your own. Their problem. They then call you intelligent when you can behave and think in a way that adds to their power and maintains their position in the world. Then you're intelligent. Then you have good character. You understand? I want you to think about what I'm saying here in a minute. You see? And their measure of intelligence then is intrinsically related to those abilities and ways of thinking that allows them to solve the problems that confront them as a people. Those African Americans then, who are often called intelligent within this system, are what I will call intellectual mercenaries. They are hired guns who then are used to solve the problems of the European corporate system and economic system, political and social system, but who, when confronted with their own problems, cannot solve their own problems. They can fly European shuttles into the space. They can light European ships up on the moon. They can sit on the board, on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and direct European armies and develop military strategies for Europeans. And yet they cannot run the white man out of South Africa. And they cannot militarily free themselves. They cannot move Africa into the space race. They cannot get our people in a position where we can commercially exploit space and be a part of the expansion of this system into the universe. You are dumb and ignorant no matter what position you have in this society if you cannot solve those problems, ladies and gentlemen. So you got an MBA so that you can be smart and be productive and even better than the white boys at producing for Xerox and producing for IBM and all the rest. But you can't build and take over your own economic systems in Brooklyn and Harlem and the other places. You Africans let these Arabs and these other groups have control of your economy and control of your system. I don't care how much you can go to Cambridge and how many Rhodes Scholars you produce and so forth. If you can't solve the starvation of African people, if you cannot move Africa to a position of technological challenge to other powers, if you cannot solve the issue of securing the survival of African people, you are dumb and stupid. I don't give a damn how much you pass the exam. Therefore, you must define intelligence in terms of your own goals, in terms of your own survival. You must organize the thinking of children and the behavior of your children in terms of your own survival, not in terms of supporting the survival of another people. When you organize the intelligence of these children in terms of the interests of another people, you are making your children traitors to your own causes. Colin Powell will direct armed assaults on African nations and African peoples. And I bet you couldn't get him to organize an army in Africa against the colonial and other forces in Africa. Understand what I'm saying? You have to look at intelligence. You can't accept this standard definition of intelligence. Screw the white folks' definition of intelligence. You must look at it in terms of what do we need to survive? What do we need to be liberated? What do we need as a people to secure our survival? So in this sense, the intelligence involves the constant active interaction between so-called inherited ability and environmental experience. Really, we're going to see intelligence and environment is essentially one and the same thing. We talk about them for convenience as if they're different things, but they are really one and the same thing. Intelligence and behavior and so forth only can make sense within the context of an environment. Otherwise, they have no meaning at all, no value whatsoever. Yeah, no value at all. You can't separate intelligence from environment. Yeah. Or goal orientation or problem solving has no meaning. It only has meaning within a particular context and reflects that context. You can't have criminality where boys kill each other over sneakers in a society that doesn't sell sneakers, can you? No. So in a sense, almost every crime is a social act. Almost every behavior is a social act. You see, defined by a social environment and a social system in which that act takes place. And so is the case with intelligence. In a sense, you cannot be the same as white folk unless you what? White folk. No matter how you try it. No matter how you play it. No matter how you do it. You exist in a context that is unique to you. You're confronted with problems that are unique to you. You have goals that are unique to you. You live under conditions that are unique to you. You have a history that is unique to you. And you cannot be a white person. And a white person cannot be you. And when you then try to get to be a white person, you are merely going to drive yourself crazy. And be inappropriate for yourself and not going to be able to solve your problems. It's not going to happen. I have to tell people, when you take a course in college, the course is not only defined by its subject matter, you see, and this is the problem often you have with black students in certain classes. They look at the book and they think that what's in the book is what the course is. You know, and I've told you about the situation where often when you're talking about subject matter that's not in the book and the students are looking in the book to see if what you're talking about is there, and they decide if it's not there, then you must be off the subject. You know, or you must not be talking psychology, you must be talking something else, because they don't see the guy who wrote the book called Introduction to Psychology talking about this. And then you run to the dean, we're being miseducated, he's not teaching us what's in the book. You know? As if, you know, psychology is defined by the author. That's the reason why I'm saying even in totally black classes, the white man is still sitting there with that book. You know, directing the course, directing people's mind. You can see, as I've said before, people's mind turn off, you know, as soon as they don't see it in the book, their mind just shut down. You can look at their eyes, you know, just shut down. They don't hear you anymore. And then when you get back to the book, they wake up, you know, they get back into it because they figure that's going to be on the test. That's what you try to tell them, you know. Look, when I'm off the book, I'm talking about the most important things around. You see. What are we saying here then? That a course is not only defined by its so-called subject matter or its subject, but a course is defined by its problems. You see, by the problems a particular people have to solve. So white psychology books, white sociology books, white books on economics and education and so forth are in part determined to a significant degree by the problems that whites face in these particular areas. You see? And when you take an issues course, it will be an issues course that determines their problems, not yours. That is why, despite the fact that you come out with a head full of knowledge and information, you are still unable to apply that information to your own circumstances. Understand? The economic problems of white folk are not the economic problems of black folk. You see, you got very different economic organizations of the black community. You have very different issues to deal with. How do you get black folk to spend money with black folk? How do you organize the money that black people have such that money can be used to produce commercial and business growth and development? What is the psychology that makes black folk feel good when they give all their money to white folk? How can you as a retailer get around that kind of psychology if you were a business person? Those are black issues, black problems, you know. How can we get control of the importation of all African products? You see, how do we take control of the distribution of African products within the United States economic system? How do we take over the United States economic system? Those are black problems. Those are black economic problems. How, given the fact that by mid-next century, white people will be a minority in the United States, over 50% of the jobs in this country will be held by minorities. You see, how do we take advantage of that situation and change this economic system around and make it an African one? And then connect it and organize it in its relationship to African countries. Those are the dissertations you should be writing. Those are the master's theses you should be getting into. Those are the kind of issues you should be doing in your business courses and so forth. If you are not doing those, you are not doing Afrocentric business. You understand? Let's understand that. You can only solve problems based on the information available in your head by using that information, contrasting, comparing, approaching it hypothetically, and so forth, to arrive at possible answers and approaches to problems. How do you solve an African problem without African information in your head? You got a problem, haven't you? Even if you're able to think well abstractly, even if you're able to think well conceptually, ladies and gentlemen, even if you're able to do mathematics very, very well, you're still going to have a problem because you don't have the fundamental operation. You don't have the fundamental what? Information that is necessary to the solution of a problem. You see, so the mere training in thinking, or the mere training in abstract reasoning and so forth, while good is not good enough, knowledge is not good enough. It's not enough. You got to have more than knowledge. You got to have other things. You got to have uses for that knowledge. And knowledge is organized by goals, by intentions, by plans. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's why it's so important for you to have a sense of nation as a people. Because if you don't have a sense of nation, you can have a fund of knowledge, but still perish. African people have a tremendous amount of knowledge and skills. It's unbelievable. If we were a nation with the kind of knowledge we have, the skills we have, we would be one of the major nations on this earth. You see? But because there is no overarching national goal, no national program, no national administration among black people, that knowledge just sits in isolated bits and pieces, and it's uncoordinated and cannot be used to solve the people's problems or secure their survival. It's the same situation where black people sit with billions of dollars in their pockets and have no economic system. Because an economic system is not the same thing as money. The emphasis is on system. It is on the fact that people must have a particular set of relationships with each other and a particular way of allocating and distributing money and distributing their talents and skills and so forth that makes an economic system. Economic systems existed prior to money. The ultimate economic system depends upon social organization and depends upon the nature of a relationship between people, not the mere existence of money. And therefore, here we are as a people with billions of dollars and no economic and social and political influence in America to count for it. It's a shame. Why? Is it because you didn't have Andrew Bremer up on the board or whatever, the federal board? That you don't have PhDs in economics? Hey, educated the wrong way. Intelligence only organized to solve what? Other people's problems, not their own problems.
Relationships. Very important. Very, very, very important. Very essential. The way we see ourselves, the way we commit to ourselves, the way we treat ourselves. You understand?
Far beyond the carrion, where there is no city wall. There is a tree all around that city, outside the walls of Jerusalem. Upon that hill, they crucified our God.
Yes, this is the Roots Corner. Come!
Yeah, yeah. I say, ooh.
Every time I look on them, I see them a bend up their face. Every time I turn around, I see them a grin with me. I say, ooh, ooh, la la. See the hypocrites, them a galang. See them a galang, yeah. I say, ooh, ooh, la la. See the hypocrites, them a galang. See them a galang, yeah. Every time I look for them, I see them a bend up their face. Every time I turn around, I see them a grin with me. I say, ooh, ooh, la la. See the hypocrites, them a galang. See them a galang, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I go mash down principalities and wickedness. We are go tear down principalities and wickedness. For we've been suffering lot of starvation. For we've been suffering victimization. For we've been suffering great tribulation. We are gonna mash down principalities and wickedness. We are gonna tear down principalities and wickedness. Our foreparents have suffered all through those years. They suffer like a living with blood, sweat, and tears. And if we don't stand strong, surely happen again. We gonna mash down principalities and wickedness. We gonna tear down principalities and wickedness. We all have an eye, so we all can see. We all have a mouth, so we all can speak. We all have an ear, we gonna mash down principalities and wickedness. We gonna tear down principalities and wickedness.
Oppression is what you make it. Life is so hard and tough. If you don't change your way, the penalty you must pay. The whole wide world in such a disgrace. All mankind do is to mess up the place. From down to down, all sin up the place. Man gets so fine, but it's not all the while. Stand up to your judgment, for it's you who have made it. Stand up to your judgment, don't you run away. Stand up to your judgment, don't you run away. Yeah. Stand up to your judgment, Oppression is what you make it. Life is so hard and tough. If you don't change your way, then the penalty you must pay. Your wide world in such a disgrace. All mankind do is to mess up the place.
Mighty diamonds. Easy master, easy. Set up Kojo in a aqua, Ghana.
Oppression is what you make it. Life is so hard and tough. If you don't change your way, then the penalty you must pay. Your wide world in such a disgrace.
Mighty diamonds.
All mankind do is to mess up the place. From town to town, arson up the place. Man gets so violent, but it's not all the while. Stand up to your judgment, don't you run away, yeah. Stand up to your judgment, do you hear what I say? Your wide world in such a disgrace.
Reggae music.
All mankind do, yeah, mess up the place.
Cultured reggae
From
music.
town to town, arson up the place. Monday. Cha cha cha. Kiss me, never leave me lonely. Tell me you're my one and only girl.
Yes, master. You know you're my wife alone, isn't it? You know that. You know that. Scratchy, scratchy's not my fault. Yeah. Sing, sing, sing.
La la ba woman. La la bye my love. La la ba woman. La la bye my love. Kiss me, never leave me lonely. Tell me you're my one and only girl. La la ba woman. La la bye my love. La la ba woman.
Settle Marcia, come on.
Idol is vital.
vital is vital. Rub out the makeup, dash right away. Girl, can't you see I am a Rasta man who deal with strictly idol. Idol is vital. Tell me, girl, idol is vital. Oh no, yeah, idol is vital. Idol is vital. Take off the pants, take off the miniskirt. Come to me in your rock and idol skirt. 'Cause I am an actress. Woman, you got to know yourself, yeah. In this Armageddon time, you got to be militant like me.
Yes, it's true. That's so we live.
Listen, girls, if you all believe in love, then you got to tell me if this ain't true.
Listen.
A true love can never die. A true love always shine bright. A true love never deceive.
This is reggae music. See? Cultured reggae music. Marcia.
Listen, girls, if you all believe in love, then you got to tell me if this ain't true.
Listen.
A true love can never die. A true love always shine bright. A true love never deceive. A true love can never be weak. So I want a love life. I don't want no fornication life. 'Cause a true love can never die. Girls, a true love always shine bright. A true love comes from the heart. A true love never leaves you none. A true love is what I want, and not a love that lasts for a week. So I'm on a love life. I don't want no fornication life. 'Cause a true love can never die.
Yes, Harris. Mr. Harris Andy, come on, man. You're good, you're good, you're good.
La la la. Oh, oh, oh.
Listen.
No man is an island. No man stands alone. Each man has a brother, and each man's dream is their own. Now we must love one another, yeah, and we must all try to be friends. Each man has a brother, and each man has a friend. You can't live in this world all by yourselves. No, no, no.
you keep making it low. And just to show as you try to make it by yourself, you're gonna wake up and fall. You're gonna need somebody else. No man is an island. No man stands alone. Each man has a brother, yeah, and each man's dream is their own.
Yes, no man's an island and no man stands alone. That's true, very true.
Well, I appreciate the way you treated me when I'm down. You keep me around, and that's why, girl, you got to wear my crown. You are not as pretty as the other girls, but I don't mind, for you suit me fine. You are a high-top queen eye, sent from Zion for I. You got that helping touch, and that's what I appreciate. So I don't care what the world may say, I've got love for you. You are the one to wear my crown, for you treat me good. Yeah, 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 yeah.
This is what we call a festival song, you know. You understand? And I think that one did win that year. I tell you. So we're gonna play the last one of this session, and then we're going into Melekel Shabazz, Alma Wali, Malcolm X. Get your pen, get your paper. Yeah, take some notes, man. Listen carefully.
Strip of our culture, living in a strange land, but by our laws we can't hide. Blacker, 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 dreader, dreader, dread, naughty, naughty, naughty. We are black, yes, we are Africans. Can we be called Ethiopians, living in a strange land, far, far away? Blacker, 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 dreader, dreader, dread, naughty, naughty, naughty.
Yes, so the diaspora, when they hear this, when they hear me and my brethren, them, they wake up a little because them get a lot of distortion views and a lot of disrespect to our females and what is now projected as dancehall, and a lot of incursion into sexualities and everything. You understand? Disgusting behaviors. So when we play the music on this platform, the people have to listen to the lyrics, and then there's those out there who knew them before and feel say, wait, right? And then there's those who haven't heard before, so they will be attentive to listen to the vocals and everything and get a message, an understanding, and a feel-good factor, you understand? Because it's what we created in the islands, you know, specifically Jamaica, you see? And we use a 4-track recording studio and we did our thing, you know what I mean? And our musicians, it's not Casios or nothing of this nature. You know what I mean? We're talking about late 60s, 70s and so, you understand? So you know, we're bright people, you know? Yeah. So we're going to go to give you a kind of understanding of the connection between Alma Wally, Malcolm X, Melchizedek Shabazz, encountering not just with Africa but with Sudan, with Sudanese in America and then in Sudan itself, right? And also a little bit about his tuition in the Quran, and then his calmness, but his curiosity is about, yeah, you hear it for yourselves. You know what I mean? Melchizedek Shabazz, Alma Wally, Malcolm X. Because that's his names, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we're going to play this artist that learned a lot from America too, you know what I mean? But he developed at home, you know, Mr. Jackie Mito, Sir Jackie Mito. And then my Brazilian people, them, yeah, are the largest population outside of Africa now. Brazil. Africans in Brazil. islands, we are very talented, man. Don't dismiss us. Now, get your pen and paper, get ready. Pay attention. Don't say you miss it.
In 1959, I visited Khartoum and Omdurman in the Sudan, and I also visited the Muslims in Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, and Arabia. I was most impressed by the Muslims of the Sudan. Their religious piety and hospitality are unmatched anywhere. I really felt at heaven and at home there.
Of all the countries through which Malcolm X had been on his first world tour, Sudan stood out as the most fascinating and captivating place on earth, and he remembered Sudan as the place that had left the greatest impression on him with regards to piety and culture. As a matter of fact, it was during his first visit to the Sudan that his ideas about Islam were first being challenged, leaving a long-lasting impression in the heart and mind of the 34-year-old minister. The ancient Nubian civilization and its cultural legacy had long captivated the imagination of the Nation of Islam, occupying a venerated place in the mythology and worldview espoused by Elijah Muhammad, who first introduced this narrative to the African American community through his famous book entitled Message to the Black Man in America, in which the author declares that the tribe of Shabazz had originally appeared on Earth some 60 trillion years ago and had settled in the Nile Valley. Elijah Muhammad then informs his readership that the tribe of Shabazz were an Afro-Asiatic people who had constructed great pyramids in ancient times. The said descendants of these mighty people were supposedly enslaved and transported to the Americas, where they eventually came to be known as the Lost Tribe of Shabazz. Malcolm X and several other leading figures within the Nation of Islam then began to openly identify themselves as members of the Shabazz clan, which is where his adopted surname was derived from. It was not surprising for Malcolm X to have developed such a fascination with the Sudan, considering the centrality of Nubia within Elijah Muhammad's mythology and that of other Afrocentric movements of the era. Cult leaders such as Dr. Malachi York had famously declared himself a descendant of As-Sayyid Abdul Rahman al-Mahdi, who was one of Sudan's leading religious and political figures during the Anglo-Egyptian era of Sudan between 1898 and 1955.
You are Sudanese, you are Nubians, you're not Africans. Africans are pagans. Now, you are Sudanese, you have a dress code, it is passed down from heaven to you.
Following in the footsteps of Elijah Muhammad, Dr. York went on to establish his own cult, which he named the Nubians. Ever since then, a number of books, films and organizations have arisen bearing variations of the word Nubia. In fact, many artists of the era and those who followed in their footsteps have incorporated Nubian instruments, subtle terminologies, and iconography into their songs, films, and publications. The deep influence of Nubian symbolism and representation is still faintly detectable in contemporary African American artistic expression. Prior to his arrival in the Sudan, Malcolm X had already been in close correspondence with Malik Badri, a 27-year-old Sudanese student who at the time was actively pursuing advanced studies in psychology. Malik Badri was Malcolm's local guide in the Sudan. The pair met outside a Grand Hotel in Khartoum before going on a tour of the historic sites and cultural landmarks in Omdurman and Khartoum. Malcolm's advanced knowledge of Nubian culture and history had quite impressed Malik Badri, who was astounded by Malcolm's special interest in the life and legacy of Muhammad al-Mahdi, in regards to whom Malcolm spoke with great enthusiasm and admiration. Muhammad al-Mahdi was the Nubian leader who launched a rebellion against Sudan Turco-Egyptian rulers and defeated the British to create the Mahdist state, Mahdiya, which encompassed the regions between the Red Sea to Darfur between 1885 to 1899. However, when he visited Khartoum, Malcolm X expressed his disapproval with the presence of Caucasians there, informing Malik Badri of his discomfort with the false propaganda being promoted as facts by Caucasians back in America, who had insisted that the continent of Africa and its peoples were without any culture or civilization, prompting Malcolm to bring a journal and a camera to the Sudan in order to gather intelligence and to document his findings pertaining to the real history and the legacy of ancient artifacts and monuments still present in Nubia. Malcolm was hoping to return back to America with first-hand experience and evidence with which to dispel the misconceptions about Africa and to educate his people about the glorious civilizations that had once flourished on the continent. Malcolm X was a great proponent and student of history. He considered knowledge of the past to be a very critical and powerful means by which to empower people who had for so long been deprived and denied knowledge of their true selves. Malcolm X's interest in the landscape and culture of Sudan was evident in the large number of photographs he took and the film footage he recorded during his stay there. However, Malcolm X's ideology and worldview at the time had been entirely shaped by Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. This was evident to his local guide, Malik Badri, who was very much aware of these theological divergences between Sunni Islam and the theology of the Nation of Islam. Although Malcolm X's Sudanese company was concerned with the interpretation of Islam being propagated by Malcolm and that of the nation itself, the young man did not instigate any debates or overtly challenge Malcolm about his beliefs. Instead, he subtly conveyed the core Islamic tenets of Tawheed, that is the absolute unity of God, which is central to Islamic theology. Malik would share photographs of some of the children he had been teaching basic Islamic lessons to, all the while explaining these fundamental theological concepts to Malcolm as they looked at the photographs together. Despite his youth and inexperience, Malik was very sensible and considerate in his approach. Rather than cut at the roots of what he believed to be a heretical manifestation of Islam, Malik decided instead to embed a few seeds of contemplation into Malcolm's fertile and inquisitive mind, which in time would grow and blossom. It was these seeds that in fact took root and eventually blossomed in the heart and mind of Malcolm X 5 years later, when he officially severed ties with the Nation of Islam and embraced Sunni Islam. The sagacity and grace experienced by Malcolm in his interaction with Malik Badri in 1959 left an indelible mark of respect and admiration in Malcolm's memory, as he would later continue to praise the people of Sudan for their loving kindness, genuine piety, and their unwavering solidarity with the plight of African Americans. His travel diaries and letters are replete with hearty references to the Sudanese and in what he referred to as their quiet confidence. Malcolm X even makes an entry in his journal stating that he would never cease to be impressed by the Sudanese. Malcolm's international assignment and journey through the Middle East and Africa in 1959 was primarily orchestrated in order to establish and publicize the Nation of Islam's credibility as a real Muslim organization that was affiliated with leading Islamic organizations across the world. Yet despite the fact that several Sunni organizations and public figures within the United States were fully aware of the Nation of Islam's heterodox theology and beliefs, very few people condemned them publicly or challenged them in regards to their unorthodox statements and racial theories. At that time, the only known orthodox Sunni Muslim to openly challenge Elijah Muhammad and his Nation of Islam was Yahya Hayari, He was another young Sudanese man who was in the United States in pursuit of advanced studies at the University of Pennsylvania. According to records, Yahya maintained direct correspondence with Malcolm X during his time within the Nation of Islam. It was in 1962 that Yahya Hayari authored a sharp refutation of Elijah Muhammad. The brazen denunciation of Elijah Muhammad was published by the Pittsburgh Courier, prompting Malcolm X to take on the challenge in defense of his mentor's honor. Malcolm X personally responded to Hayari in a private letter before publicly chastising him via the same newspaper publication, the Pittsburgh Courier, wherein Malcolm criticized Yahya Hayari for his colonially minded outlook on race relations, before criticizing him for having adopted the American mentality instead of maintaining his own cultural identity. Though well-intentioned, Yahya's public and confrontative approach was apparently ineffective, as it had only fueled debate and hostility between himself and Malcolm X, unlike the more genteel and sagacious approach that Malik Badri had applied with Malcolm back in the Sudan. Although we do not know to what extent Yahya Hayari's open challenge had influenced Malcolm to look into Sunni theology, Hayari was certainly not going to be the last Sudanese student who would cross paths with Malcolm X in such a brazen and confrontative manner. Whether it was the kind and considerate approach of Malik Badri or the bold and challenging tone of Yahya Hayari, Malcolm would maintain regular correspondence with Sudanese students who would inevitably express their concerns to him regarding his theology and the message he was preaching on behalf of the Nation of Islam. In the same year in which Yahya Hayari openly challenged Elijah Muhammad's teachings, yet another Sudanese student entered into the fray and would soon cross paths with Malcolm X, though this time the encounter would be far more personal and unabashedly critical. It would seem as if with each subsequent encounter, Malcolm's Sudanese counterparts were becoming less and less subtle with their concerns and grievances. Malcolm's third encounter with a Sudanese student was when he met Ahmed Siddiq Osman, a native of Argin, which is a Nubian village situated approximately 20 kilometers south of Abu Simbel. Ahmed Osman was a prodigious and gifted student who drew the attention of key American institutions when he was selected to represent the Sudan in the New York Tribune's World Youth Forum, before attending the University of Khartoum and securing scholarships to pursue advanced studies in America at the universities of Brandeis and Dartmouth. Ahmed finally settled with the offer of Dartmouth College on the condition that he would spend all his vacations with an American family as part of the program. Ahmed Siddiq Osman arrived in the United States in the autumn of 1962, aged approximately 20 years old. The young scholar was well informed about the plight of African people across the world, and more so in America. He was also aware of the teachings of the Nation of Islam prior to meeting with Malcolm X in person. Ahmed's first direct encounter with Malcolm X was on a Sunday afternoon in July 1963, where he and a friend were walking near Muhammad's Temple No. 7 in Harlem, where Malcolm served as a minister and used to deliver public lectures to large audiences. It so happened that Malcolm was engaged in delivering a 4-hour lecture to approximately 500 congregants, while Ahmed and his friend passed by the venue and decided to enter out of curiosity. Ahmed joined the audience and was captivated by Malcolm's charisma and intelligence. However, towards the end of the lecture, Ahmed raised his hand and challenged Malcolm X in regards to his radical racial theories, supposedly based on the teachings of the Quran. Having recognized Ahmed to be yet another Sudanese student, Malcolm X reassured the crowd and encouraged the young questioner to continue with his line of inquiry, after informing him that he too had studied the history of the African continent and its ancient civilizations, which included those of the mighty empires that arose within the Nile Valley, including the Nubian and Cushitic empires, the Aksumite Empire, and the great Sudanic empires. In fact, Malcolm even recounted his visit to the University of Omdurman and Afhad College, which was Sudan's first university for women. Malcolm recounted how he drew inspiration and had great admiration for the Sudanese youth, whose support for fellow African nations striving for independence from the colonial powers would be manifest through student-led protests and open denunciation of the racist apartheid system which was being practiced in South Africa, while decrying the brutality of the racist policies in Congo that had resulted in the brutal assassination of Patrice Lumumba. Malcolm's words resonated deeply with Ahmed Siddiq Osman, who was himself a high school student during the first wave of African decolonization and was an active participant in those demonstrations through the streets of Khartoum. However, Ahmed did not forego his rare opportunity to correct Malcolm X before the congregation, as he wanted to challenge the idea that the Quran endorsed the notion of the white race or any other race being referred to as the devil. Malcolm cheerfully accepted Ahmed's challenge and proceeded to read the following verse from a copy of an English translation which he had at hand.
يوم ينفخ في الصور ونحشر المجرمين يومئذ زرقا يتخافتون.
Malcolm X had always been taught by his mentors in the Nation of Islam that this verse was in specific reference to the European race. Ahmed, a native Arabic speaker, boldly challenged Malcolm's interpretation of the word zurqa, insisting that it was not meant to be interpreted with the distorted meaning by which the Nation of Islam were conveying to the people. Malcolm X was so impressed by Ahmed Osman's audacity and courage before the unsettled audience of almost 500 people, but he was not intimidated by the challenge and signaled to the audience to calm down and allow Ahmed to continue with his questioning. Though the young Sudanese student was not convinced with the racist theology of Malcolm X, he was nevertheless impressed by the remarkable grace with which Malcolm articulated his thoughts while maintaining his composure. Following the encounter, Malcolm X exchanged correspondence details with Ahmed Osman, and the two became friends from that day onwards. They would maintain contact and confide in one another for the rest of Malcolm's life. Ahmed Siddiq Osman is even referenced in the autobiography of Malcolm X and was later solicited by Spike Lee for the role of lead consultant in the film. However, due to the unexpected invasion of Kuwait at the time, Ahmed Osman was not accessible as he was in the process of leaving Kuwait for Saudi Arabia. He also lost many of the personal letters and correspondences that had been left in his home during the war. Sadly, his insights, archives, and experiences with Malcolm X never made it into the movie. As the two men continued to exchange thoughts and ideas by mail, Osman would send literature from the Islamic Center of Geneva, which was established in 1961 by Saeed Ramadan, the son-in-law of Hassan al-Banna, who was the ideological founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. Ahmed Osman continued to send such literature to Malcolm, encouraging him to learn more about true Islam. Malcolm was very impressed by the ideas and principles he was studying through these publications and would request more books and pamphlets. While on his travels, Malcolm would consult Ahmed Osman about the Arabic verses in the Quran, for which he sought clearer insights from a native speaker of the language. In one such correspondence, dated November 13th, 1963, Malcolm requested Ahmed's help in translating 2 Arabic verses into English, one of which was the same verse he had quoted as evidence for the white man being the devil when Ahmed Osman had challenged him in front of his congregation. On April 20th, 1964, Malcolm wrote the following letter to his friend Ahmed Osman.
Never have I witnessed such sincere hospitality and overwhelming spirit of true brotherhood as it was practiced by the people of all colors and races here in the ancient Holy Land, the home of Abraham, Muhammad, and all other prophets of the Holy Scriptures. For the past week, I have been utterly speechless and spellbound by the graciousness I see displayed all around me by people of all colors.
Towards his final days in Mecca, Malcolm X was recognized by a group of Sudanese pilgrims who embraced him enthusiastically and informed him that his friend, Malik Badri, the young psychologist who had hosted Malcolm in Sudan during his 1959 visit to the country, had now become a leading professor and a prominent academic at the American University of Beirut. Malcolm then rearranged his plans to accommodate a short trip to the Sudan, where he would reunite with his comrade, Dr. Malik Badri. Now that the seeds of wisdom he had gently planted into Malcolm's mind by means of the most subtle and considerate words had finally taken root and blossomed. However, the seeds that Dr. Malik Badri had planted in Malcolm's mind were soon to be watered and nourished by the protective rays of light emanating from another prominent Sudanese acquaintance of Malcolm X, who is described in Malcolm's own travel journals as having been a tall, black, alert and commanding man, whose pacing intellect and authoritative presence earned him the unofficial recognition among his peers as the real king of the Hijaz. His Excellency, Muhammad Surur Sabban, embodied all the attributes that Malcolm X admired and respected in a man. Sabban inspired such hope and admiration in the mind of Malcolm X that he planned to rename his own mosque after the minister in the hopes of empowering the African American community through the example of Muhammad Surur Sabban.
Everyone respects Mohammed Surur Sabban. I've heard several say he's the real king of the Hijaz.
In chapter 18 of Malcolm's autobiography, mention is made of his encounter with a Sudanese high official who hugged him and said, "You champion the American black people." Though the actual name of this Sudanese man was not identified in the final publication, notes in Malcolm's personal travel journal reveal the name of the Sudanese official, Muhammad Surur Sabban. Muhammad Surur Sabban was a leading minister serving in the Saudi Kingdom's Ministry of Finance, becoming the first ever person to hold the position in Saudi history. Sabban was also a member of the Saudi political elite who had very close ties to the king and his royal family, an accomplished poet, intellectual, and a patron of sports across Saudi Arabia. Muhammad Surur Sabban captivated Malcolm's attention and became a living testament to the kingdom's commitment to racial inclusivity, even at the highest echelons of power, something that was not imaginable at the time within America's elite political hierarchies. However, the fascination was not unrequited. Muhammad Surur Sabban was equally impressed by Malcolm's life story and by his resilience, intelligence, and courage as a fellow black man who had managed to survive under the system of oppression and discrimination that had crushed so many others. Sabban took Malcolm under his wing and leveraged his position within the Muslim World League, where he also served as the organization's first Secretary General. Muhammad Surur Sabban also appointed a guide for Malcolm in the person of Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun, an erudite and well-accomplished Islamic scholar from the Sudan. Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun had an illustrious career in Saudi Arabia, having been appointed to teach at Mecca's Grand Mosque, Masjid al-Haram, for approximately 35 years before being charged with accompanying and teaching Malcolm X personally, acting as Malcolm's mentor, mufti, and guide during the final months in Malcolm's life. It is possible that Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun had been especially assigned with the task of teaching and accompanying Malcolm X through the remainder of his life, given the fact that the Sheikh had authored several books in English and Arabic and was fluent in both languages. Additionally, Sheikh Hassoun had also a sizable following in Britain and America, which could have been of vital importance for Malcolm's development and growth as a Sunni Muslim imam and representative. Despite his very central and direct influence on Malcolm's latter stages of development and in his new identity as a Sunni Muslim, Western historians and academics have largely neglected or paid very little attention to the background and life of Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun, who may have been the closest and most influential person in Malcolm's life following his famous pilgrimage in 1964.
عليه صلاة الله ثم سلامه
Sheikh Hassoun was born in the year 1898 and belonged to a prominent family in the Sudan. He attended Gordon Memorial College in his youth before being hired as a postman. In fact, Sheikh Hassoun was very well known to Dr. Malik Badri, as he remembered him from his childhood days in Sudan. Like most people in the Sudan, Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun belonged to a family who were deeply rooted in Sufism. One of his brothers was exceptionally committed to Sufi teachings and rituals. At the time, Sheikh Ahmed was not particularly religious, and he spent much of his early adult life raising his family alongside his wife Zainab Hassan Abdel Jalil, who taught at the Aridia Dongola school as one of the first Sudanese teachers to teach Arabic and English to schoolgirls in the Sudan. The couple gave birth to 7 sons and 3 daughters together. It was only upon his return from his pilgrimage to Mecca that Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun had a profound epiphany and found a new commitment to Islam. He was reportedly going through a rapid transformation and had begun memorizing passages from the Quran, wearing traditional Islamic gowns instead of his usual European attire, and took to preaching the message of Salafiyya, which he had come into contact with whilst in Saudi Arabia. Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun soon enrolled himself into a local Salafi organization known as the Ansar Sunnah Salafi group, which were known to propagate the virtues of Salafiyya, while also challenging the teachings and rituals practiced by certain Sufi fraternities. Sheikh Ahmed's Salafi identity was certainly at odds with the conventional values and principles practiced by his own family. However, he never stopped visiting and interacting with his relatives despite their unwavering commitment to Sufism. It has been reported that Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun became more and more discontent and vocal about the British colonization of the Sudan. He was especially concerned with the overt racial segregation laws that had been imposed on the Sudanese by the British administration, who had forced travel restrictions, prohibiting people of the south of Sudan from traveling to the north, except for very few rare exceptions. Likewise, the inhabitants of Sudan's northern regions were not permitted to travel to the south without a permit issued by the British, which meant that Sheikh Hassoun was unable to travel to the southern regions in order to convey the message of Islam to its people. Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun grew tired of the situation, which only became more complicated with the outbreak of civil wars and infighting. Therefore, he decided to leave the Sudan and immigrated to Saudi Arabia instead, finding employment as a teacher in Mecca's Grand Mosque, where he would continue to teach for 35 years. Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun was a man of many talents and was known for his passion for literature and languages. In addition to English and Arabic, he spoke a number of Sudanese dialects and also enjoyed reciting Arabic and Sudanese poetry. Following his appointment as Malcolm's personal guide and teacher, Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun accompanied his students back to New York, where he served as the resident mufti. Sheikh Hassoun lived in the hotel building where Malcolm's headquarters and offices for the Muslim Mosque Incorporated were located. It was also where Malcolm had famously hosted Fidel Castro when he visited Harlem. According to those around him, Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun was a jovial and very humorous man who delivered Islamic lectures and classes at the Muslim mosque and in churches as well as on the streets of Harlem. During his brief stay in the United States, Sheikh Hassoun worked diligently to spread the Sunni teachings across several communities and is still remembered by the elders in Harlem, who described him as resembling the Prophet Moses as he traveled on foot down 125th Street, dressed in a white gown, a turban, holding his walking stick. Sheikh Ahmed's experience and knowledge as a senior scholar of Islam was a great resource for Malcolm's inquisitive and relentless mind. He now had direct and unrestricted access to a qualified elder who was fluent in Arabic and adequately equipped to answer all of Malcolm's pressing questions pertaining to certain verses of the glorious Quran, for which he had previously relied on the correspondence and translations of his friend Ahmed Osman. For example, in reference to one of the 2 Quranic verses seemingly prohibiting Muslims from becoming friends with Christians and Jews, contrary to the interpretations and meanings attributed to this Quranic verse, Malcolm came to learn from his Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun that Muslims were indeed permitted to work alongside Christians and Jews for the common good of society, further emphasizing the fact that both the Torah and the Gospel were essentially considered sacred texts as per the core teachings of Islam. This new outlook on Islam and its teachings opened Malcolm to a new perspective that had a direct and transformative influence over his rapidly evolving thoughts and on his outlook, until his views on race and religion were in close alignment with those of his erudite and experienced guide and mentor, Sheikh Ahmed Hassoun, who contributed heavily towards Malcolm's more inclusive and cooperative strategies and willingness to work with members of the Christian and Caucasian community towards the common good of American society. However, Malcolm remained determined on the principle that he was not prepared to force himself upon anyone who was not ready to reciprocate his enthusiasm or share his objectives. Malcolm remained very loyal to his black nationalist roots.
In 1959, I visited Khartoum and Omdurman in the Sudan, and I also visited the Muslims in Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, and Arabia. I was most impressed by the Muslims of the Sudan. Their religious piety and hospitality are unmatched anywhere. I really felt at heaven and at home there.
Yes.
All the gift of joy is eternal life, but the wisdom of sin is death. So the more the wicked man live, and the more I might go free. As I know everything that glitter is gold, I'm dedicated to the young and the old. Why the people they live like crab in a hole? And the government with food money trading fake gold. Say sing it to me black brother. Say sing it to me black brother. If you send your little son, go to the shop. With that $20, say come yourself in, go take up some stock. Say if him stay long, when time him come, you broke up him back. Now Toby's come from foreign, stand up one side, you must expect him face a go drop. You make me liar, neighbor, take me name, put it on light poster. But one Sunday morning, she start why me commit a dangerous act. So sing it up, me black brother. So sing it up, me black brother. But you know, an intelligent, an experience is not sufficient. You can't expect the youth to grow these
roam the street at night time and tell me about your tens, your tens. You better listen, chaplain, parents. You better act with some sense. So sing me to me black brother. Lord have mercy. Let's sing me to me black brother. Blind say make a joyful rise up to Jah. Hallelujah. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come full presently singing. Know why? Know that He is the Lord that God made us and not we ourselves. We are His people and the sheep of the Master. Enter into His gate with thanksgiving and into His court with praise. Be thankful unto Him and bless His name. God Jah is good, everlasting and terrible among them. Jah, Rastafari. Let's sing it to me black brother.
Yes, Charlie Chaplin.
And he looked for justice, but saw bloodshed. For righteousness, but your cries of distress. This Lord be guilty. If only Father look down and have mercy. A dirty life will live be plenty, and we all fall short of your glory. Me confess, yes, be guilty. If only Father look down and have mercy. A dirty life will live be plenty, and we all fall short of your glory. Heavenly Father, we come to you today to ask for your forgiveness from all we dirty ways, to seek your direction and your guidance here today. Cast you disobedience, we have all gone astray. Your words say war to those who call evil good, but that's exactly what we have done and not the things you say we should. We have lost our spiritual equilibrium. Reverse all your values and your principles to come. Me confess, yes, we guilty. Heavenly Father, look down and have mercy. A dirty life will live be plenty, and we all fall short of your glory. Me confess, yes, we guilty. Heavenly Father, look down and have mercy. A dirty life will live be plenty, and we all fall short of your glory. We have told lies and we call it news. We have party highs, Lord, we are so confused. We have committed murder and call it war. Those of us who abuse drugs we call superstar. Amongst your people we have created division, then point fingers in the name of religion. By professing to be wise, we have become fools. We build more prisons instead of schools. Me confess, yes, we guilty. Heavenly Father, look down and have mercy. A dirty life will live be plenty, and we all fall short of your glory. Me confess, yes, we guilty. Heavenly Father, look down and have mercy. A dirty life will live be plenty, and we all fall short of your glory. Neglect to discipline our children, say we building self-esteem. Push up holy hands when we know we life not clean. We have exploited the poor and call that lottery, and brag about the profit in your face, that's mockery. Reward laziness and we call that welfare. Kill the unborn and call that choice, that's not fair. Shoot abortionists and we call that justice. Create extortionists and where we are practice.
Yes, what you got to do with me, man? I tell you, man, we're guilty, wicked and terrible people.
Left, right, still. Left, right, still. Left, right, still. Left, right, still. March. praises again and again. Down the walls of Jericho, sing an Ethiopian song all day long. March down the walls of Jericho, we are Israel and we.
Just because of justice, the Senate and all of these people them who say they are backing the Zionists have threatened the students. And today, yesterday and today was graduation at the Columbia University campus. And when you watch that, all present, the officials and everybody, they all look so nervous because of the injunctions and the change of the rules and everything that's being told to them. Only because young people, students, peoples are asking for justice. That's all. Fairness, truth, rights, and justice. And then you have people saying that there are fires and everything, and it's untrue. So if it's not going to have nothing to do with us as Habashis, African people, what more can we observe? I mean, so much has happened to us. And it's today we have gone back to the ICC, as in Africa, South Africa. We see the bigger picture. But we also understand, recognize that we're part of this earth, humanity. That is not to say that we're ignoring our plight. No. It's to say that we've come of age and we are exercising international law. Yeah, we're in all the chambers. We will reach. There's no doubt about that. We, as a people, not we as a Muslim, not we as a Christian, not we as a Hebrew, all of that. No, we're going to reach as a people. And the ugly people that want to keep this racial divide, sectarian divide, religious divide, and create all this enmity, they got another thing coming. Trust. Have a look. Examine what is happening on the earth since the 7th. Since the 7th. Have a look. Pay attention. A big change is taking place. Not with these people destroying people, but with us. How we have approached this. Seriously. Big things. Big things. Come here.
The way seems steep, but trot along, judge of people we've got to reach. Ethiopia land is where I and I from. We've got to take a positive stand to break down their evil devices. Evil man, where you gonna stand? Chant down Babylon kingdom, I have been chanted now. Whoa. Chant down Babylon kingdom, I have been chanted now.
it's come to the fore. I tell you, my grandmother would have been like, yes, I told you. I told you it's come to the fore. Wash your hands, boy. I tell you, it's come to the forefront. Can't stop it.
Flash it and go on, me operator. Play for me. Flash it and go on, me operator. Play it cause it's sweet. Rhythms rocking, hydrants at no control. Tamos rocker, all of them were there. Man, dance talk, not a buckle or a cock. Your motor rocking.
Yo, Principal, I tell you, man, one back, Tabby. Yeah, I tell you, man, shocking, electric. Yeah, lady, hold tight, man. Settle Marcia, you think so me not see you, man? Jesus, you want me to tell the people say you married me now? What you say? I married you, you never married me. Yeah, your father good, you know. Your father good, man. Your father hand you over to me. You know what I'm saying? Set some presidents. I love that. You know, a big, big family, you know. Serious thing. My family small. Unification with Marcia family. Now her family is huge. Yeah, it's not small again, you know. Huge family. Got a lot of work to do, man. Serious thing. Energy, we are say Marcia. Hey, yo, you know what? Her father and mother never asked me if me love them daughter, you know. Them just say, are you going to take care of our daughter? They never said nothing about no, do you love our daughter? No, they just say, are you going to take care of our daughter? And this is our expectation of you. You understand? Yeah, boy, may I tell you. Some serious thing that, you know. You never ask a question like, do you love our daughter? Nah, man. Them just tell me, see, you have to take care of our daughter. Serious thing. Yes! Yo, Marcia, you love me though? Early, innit? Sorry, early. Serious!
Flash it and go on, me operator. Play for me. Flash it and go on, me operator. Play it cause it's sweet. Rhythms rocking, hydrants at no control.
Oh, you mean?
Tamos rocker, all of them were there. Man, dance talk, not a buckle or a cock. Your motor rocking, it's crucial. Dance talk.
See, I mean, there's a vibe that take place, you know. I tell you, man, a vibes that take place. You see? So people them all have this fear, you know what I mean, of expressing themselves and the emotions and all these type of thing. We were those people, you know. We kept so many things bottled up inside of us and really want to express ourselves, and we felt that we'd be hurting other people, and some of those same people make us feel that we'd be so wrong, you know. So they had us stuck And then all of a sudden there were people doing poetry and so forth and so forth, you know. And we're saying, well, hold on a minute. How come we drop some poetry and then man they try show us that it's not allowed? But soon as we do this, you know what I mean? So we just change that, man. You know. So we have a band, a group over here, some rappers, and they're called Mecca to Medina. You know. I'm not sure if they went to America, you know. But they're they're troublesome, man. They got lyrics. Yeah, they got lyrics, man. They get down hard, you know. Yeah, so but they give more recognition to since those brothers came out, the Asian and some Middle Eastern groups were formed, but they get more publication. They're on the big screens and so forth. You know what I mean? And they just be like big shows, lot of shows being put on, and people get to see them. And they got released. A lot of commercialism has been awarded to them also. So we take those things in our stride, you know what I mean? Because we know it's the Habashi business, you know, and they're scared of us. They're scared of us in some ways, you know what I mean? But we've coordinated ourselves a certain way, you know what I mean? So we don't feel that we are oppressed, you know? We don't feel that way. We used to, but we don't feel that way because we realize that we have to do things for ourselves as a people, you know what I mean? So that just settles that down, you know? So Abdullah, yeah, MC Abdullah, come. Listen.
I remind him that the pen is greater than the sword. Remind him every time it's greater than the sword. Education we defend is gonna save the world. Dreaming we unite together, save the world. I remind him that the pen is greater than the sword. Don't stop trying, we all humans in God's eyes. Education we defend is gonna save the world. Save the world, inshallah. Education is not just some privilege or right that every child deserves. Is God-given, that right come under threat, it must be defended. You think Allah don't see what you're doing to his children? Who's been held accountable? Who's in charge, mister? These kids ain't got nothing to do with y'all business.
So I will break there because next thing you know, they would have told me say that I'm violating community or something, and then instead of caution, they probably just give me like 2 weeks ban, you know. So it's this type of thing that happens, you know. So we take all those things in we stride, and you know, we bite the bullet here and there. So I'm gonna say guidance Ugan. Check the Malika Shabazz Al Mawali Malcolm X things out, you know what I mean? Pay attention to it, have a good look, observe it, you know, and all the propagandas that people put on, it's not really propaganda, but, you know, misappropriate information, and some people know and some people don't know, and some people take certain things and add some things to it, you know, and can't help calling him names, you know, like hypocrite, this, that, the other, and so forth, and not recognizing that he was us and we are him. Right? You understand? And I stand myself, I stand on a moral ground. I was raised like that. from my grandparents on both sides. My parents not enforced it. My parents are the same, were the same. Sometimes I question myself, would I have responded like Melchizedek Shabazz? I said yes. The only thing I doubt myself with, and I wouldn't like to think I would have done, would have spent time accepting the interviews by the Caucasian and speak to them. When I didn't do that in the first place, what I did there was political, and it was to show that the Nation of Islam was not a racist, blah, 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 and so forth. Underline those things, and we were not some kind of cult and so forth. But true to the attempts and the information given to him that he was a marked man, and he also knew, because of the training, and he also knew that the possibility of individuals with a feeling, he put himself, he didn't put himself, he was in the space, right? So speaking to the press and making them aware, of this laundry, I don't think that was a good thing. But, the fear, and then on top of that, the attempts, and then the situation that took place at his home, I think that was anger plus fear and so forth. But Allah Halam, in terms of his commitment to us, that was 100%. In terms of his commitment to set a standard whereby we as African people can connect and should connect with Africa. People need to listen to what he said, leave because he recognized from an African American point of view and everything else, and from a world point of view, what religious dogma and religion can do to people. And he early asked people to follow him, in a sense that he has been able to leave when he comes out to us, he parked his religion. That doesn't mean he's not practicing, but what he's saying is, I'm not going to be out here telling you how to live your life. That Islam is better for you than Christianity or Judaism and so forth, right? And if anyone listen, you always let them understand that his faith is al-Islam. The words change. The word didn't change. And there's still people that don't appreciate that or accept that because they want to go down some other avenue. You know what I mean? But alhamdulillah, you see? But we can learn and excel from all of them, and we should.
That Jah have his way. As if you're looking for a brighter tomorrow, oh Lord, then you'll have to change today. If you're looking for a brighter future, then let Jah have his way. If you look in the world and what you can do. There may be someone down and out and need someone to pull him through. But if mankind would unite and try to shine on light, then everything would be right in life. There's stitch in time, say it's night. Make up your mind, mankind, and let your light so shine that man may see true love divine, true love divine, true love divine. Let your have his way, oh baby, let your have his way, oh yeah. Should you hate your brother? No, that's wrong. Should you hate your sister? You know that's wrong. It's time to love your mother. Yes, that's right. Show love to your sister. You know that's right. But if you really want to save the world, first you gotta save your soul. You gotta have self-control and let your fingers roll. Yeah. And take a look in the world and see just what you can do. There might be someone sad and lonely and need someone to pull him through. Look within your heart, be willing to play your part, as it was ordained from the start. A stitch in time saves time. Make up your mind, mankind, and let your light so shine that men may see true love divine, true love divine, true love divine. Let your have his way, let your have his way. Should you hate your brother? No, that's wrong. Should you hate your sister? You know that's wrong. Time to come together, yes, that's right. Let's come together and all unite. Look within your heart, you gotta play your part, as it was ordained from the start. A stitch in time saves time. Make up your mind, mankind. Here we go again, dancing ourselves to a frenzy, freeing ourselves from depression, frustration, and misery. Sweet music is playing on the radio, hearts and minds ought to be mellow. Faces are saddened, I don't know what's happened. Oh Lord, I feel a sweet sensation running through my body. It has got me moving slow. Over the years, music is pumping, the masses keep on jumping. Lost souls have found themselves home. I've asked myself, what is going on? It seems like everyone's gone crazy. Yes, suddenly.
Things and times, that's what it is, suddenly. I'm telling you. So we're saying guidance, we're gone. Give thanks.
Jerusalem. Baruch Ata Adonai
Baruch haba Yerushalayim. Baruch ata Adonai. Baruch haba Yerushalayim. From the Bible to the Quran, revelation in Jerusalem, Shalom, Salam Alaikum. You can see Christian, Jews and Muslims living together and praying, Amen. Let's give thanks and praises. Baruch ata Adonai. Baruch haba Yerushalayim.
Yes, we are the Semites. Salam alaikum. Gone. Guidance. That's us. Yeah, that's, oh man, I wasn't looking at this side here. Oh, brother, I apologize. I wasn't looking this side. Different interpretation of the meaning in the Quran. I wonder if Malcolm would have. Malcolm loved Elijah Muhammad. He loved working and representing us. Elijah Muhammad showed him, explained to him a lot of things. Malcolm and Wallace was very close. All the children, but particularly Wallace was very close. They shared the same ideas. Wallace was constantly expelled. He was put out time after time not because he was just like his other siblings. They were taught Arabic. So he understood a lot of things in the Quran as he was growing, Wallace. And so did Malcolm, my brother. And those two shared a lot. So what was hurting Wallace, he shared with Malcolm. He didn't set Malcolm up. He shared that with Malcolm. It hurt both of them. what people do not speak about is the connection between Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad. Malcolm confronted him. He did. And they had conversation. Elijah Muhammad didn't deny. Elijah Muhammad explained about his age and about leaving more offsprings and so forth and so forth. He did all of that. Malcolm accepted his reasoning. What we don't know, and God knows, and WD knows, I would say, that Elijah Muhammad said that he won't continue whatever he was doing. Malcolm was confident about that. He was assured about that. But if you all listen carefully, you'll find that Malcolm's hurt was that he told him that, but he didn't fulfill it. He didn't. So what came out of that was this. It hurt him. It hurt him. He felt mentally betrayed, and he confronted us, the people, with truth at all times. So what does he do now? And that was what shook him. To me. What do you do? And other people in the nation that resented Malcolm to the point where they could see or felt that he could be the next in line. So there was some kind of little deflections, from people. That was something that was there from ever. Because he wrote the paper. He set up the publishing house. Malcolm was so instrumental in how the Nation of Islam developed. He wasn't just a spokesman. He was an architect. He understood how to manage. But he never did something or things without the consent and the consultation of Elijah Muhammad. Anybody who's 60 plus will tell you that was in the nation or was at FOI. So pain and shivering and what to do, and the man was told that he's Allah's prophet. Wow. So coming from the point where you accepted that, forget what he gained to know, what he accepted, and what he was able to put into place and how he lived and worked, and right? So this becomes something too hard to swallow. It's painful, man. So all I would say then is take it to the point where you've got your, and this is more cynical, you've got your wife, But your wife is committing an act. But you haven't witnessed it yourself. You were told. Now, we say that a person finish up looking for signs. Because now the mind get really bogged down in this thing. And everything that she does, and however she does what she does, you're now skeptical and your brain is working overtime. And if one just had the courage to say, listen, Patrick told me that you're having an affair with Michael. Pardon me, she says. And then if I came off with a boisterous move like, you heard me, he said, Patrick said that you're having an, and so on, right? So how would we do this? Maybe we would spend months watching and peeping and setting traps and so forth. Malcolm didn't do that. This is what people need to understand. He did not do that. He went straight to Elijah Muhammad and expounded to him what his son has told him and what the interviews that he had with some of the sisters are revealed to him. That's what happened. That's not some make-up crap. That's what happened. But Elijah Muhammad explained it. Malcolm accepted what Elijah Muhammad was saying, but then months down the road, Elijah Muhammad was up to his thing again because, wow, he's a man, innit? So he told me, yeah, okay, blah, blah, but little more, he was still at it. Now that cracked Malcolm. Not Elijah's deviancies, the fact that he says, right, he explained to me, blah, blah, and okay, I'm done with that. But yet still, he didn't. He wasn't done with it. So to find out yourself now that this is what's taking place, because the sisters that's now being encroached upon, these sisters are telling him now. So he's finding it difficult. He's saying like, wow. And then to add fuel to this spark, the Kennedy situation comes up. The Kennedy situation. I mean, you couldn't write a better script. The Kennedy situation come up and everyone was issued an understanding of what needs to happen. And then what happened? What happened was that Malcolm said the chicken comes home to roost. The newspapers amplified that, and Elijah Muhammad, and whoever said to Elijah Muhammad, listen, he has to step down. So Elijah Muhammad issued the suspension. And then those other individuals, you know what I mean? It's natural, man. There's other individuals that didn't like the fact that Malcolm came out. They heard that Malcolm spoke to the messenger, or that females are being speaking to Malcolm. So they all got triggered by that. And that's natural because, I mean, they love the Nation of Islam and they love and honored Elijah Muhammad and Fard, even though some of them never even seen Fard at all. So Malcolm was between a rock and a hard place, and the situation just was damaging. Now, someone needs to ask why they're talking all this. What was happening to Wallace? What was Wallace doing? And this is what you find that none of them talk about, because he's Elijah Muhammad's son. He was kicked out. He was one side and Malcolm was the other side. That's what happened to him. It's when Elijah Muhammad got sick that Wallace was back in the house because his father, Elijah Muhammad, was ill. So that conversation people need to have and they don't have. And that's why the executive, they knew from Elijah Muhammad that Wallace, W.D. Muhammad, is meant to be the forerunner, the new head. But they all knew that Elijah Muhammad, that the Nation of Islam was to become Sunni Islam. They knew that. It's just that a lot of them pretend or make people think that that wasn't the case. Elijah Muhammad made it known early, where I'm taking you now is here, and one will come after me that will take you, right? And that's wasn't like he's picking out his son. He just said that one will come after me that will take you to that next level. And that next level, he hold up the Quran and he said, and this is what your lives are going to be, and you'll live this life. Elijah Muhammad, and that's facts. That's facts. That's 1,000% guaranteed facts. True facts. It is Farrakhan that turned around and says that he can't stand this. And Farrakhan went and revamped the nation, the Elijah Muhammad. And then say, my father told me this, and right? So he stirred up a thing, and then there was a kind of intellectual feud. They liked the black, it wasn't black power, they liked that, right? Because, you know, and it was going to be difficult for the transition, but more transition before Farrakhan decided to break ranks. When Farrakhan broke ranks, those that were like lacking patience, side with him, moved that side. And he destroyed the infrastructure. That's what that brother and others don't say. He destroyed it because of what he was doing. It destroyed the infrastructure. Because now the bulk sum of the executive that was under Elijah Muhammad shifted with Farrakhan. So WD had no other option, and his brothers, his family, but to entertain, and I'm using the word entertain, negotiate, and so forth with Farrakhan, because he refused to go to court to take themselves to court to who? To the white establishment to decide who's going to get what? No. Do you understand? So they met, and lots of things, the infrastructure was depleted in some places. The fishery took a big dent. The paper was still running. The family kept the Clear Muhammad school, definitely. College, whatever. But it was depleted. Now look at the stock that Farrakhan got, or the nation, as we should say not just Farrakhan, but that administration of the nation got. They weren't upkeeping it. So why is WD and the others are speaking about patience and tolerance and so forth? Farrakhan was over there saying that we're hypocrites. And then he went on the charge. Now, what we've been trying to find out is who is the people that was backing him? Because all of a sudden, listen, the man was able to go into Madison Square Garden. So we can leave that and build the life that we need here based on the experiences that we've seen and move on. That's it. That's what I'm saying. And we're able to, we will be able to do that. But if we stay there in the time warp, too much of us is going to get it wrong. Because there's going to be those for and those against, and then going to be those who generally haven't got a problem with Malcolm, but they're going to create a problem. And there's going to be those who don't have a problem with Elijah Muhammad, and they're going to create a problem. And there's going to be those who have a problem with Elijah Muhammad, and they're going to compound that. So where are we going to go now? We're going to create enmity, strife. We don't need that. We don't need that. We just need to have civil behavior and realize that there was a journey there, and there's some things that happen in relation to this child thing, or not even child thing. The man had a wife, you know, this adultery situation and so forth, and it hurt you or it hurt me, and it, you know what I mean, I brought it to the forefront. That's it. But our prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing upon him, should not be thrown in that arena. Why is people trying to do that? Why is people trying to make our prophet into some pedophile or something? Why is people trying to say Aisha was 8 and he consecrated the thing when he was 9, she's 9, or whatever the case is? The prophet was given Aisha because of tribalism. And it was to put an end to the hostilities between peoples, the feuds. Why ain't people getting that? Because they're going along with what other people have plagiarized out there, and now they're trying to use this today to look at the Me Too and all these things and find a way of debasing Islam. You're in America, you see what happened with 9/11. How much women, how much people in America embrace Islam, even though they're trying to dirty Islam to say that Muslims are the ones who blow up this place. Wow. Wow, that happened. And all across Europe, hundreds, thousands of women, that's their stats, not ours. Women embrace Islam. In America, so many thousands, hundreds of thousands of women embrace Islam at the peak of that 9/11 and all the fighting and the troops that were deployed in Afghanistan and all this Al-Qaeda talk. They cannot dirty Islam, and they cannot dirty the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was sent by Allah as a light unto this earth for mankind. Right? The Prophet brought the Quran. Islam has always been here. But the Quran is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Archangel Gabriel brought to the Prophet. So the Prophet is not the author of the Quran. Allah gave the Quran to Gabriel and taught the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam the Quran. The Quran was not completed after the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam died. That's another lie. I don't know why people talk that. The prophet was able to sit down and listen, recite, and wise those who came back from Ethiopia, Abyssinia, scrolled what he said and recite what he said. Because the prophet was Umi, not one that was learnt. So there's no way that he could be reading and copying the Torah, the Injil, or the Zabur. There's no way. This is not falsified nonsense. There's no way. Why would the angel say to him, Ikra, read? And he said to the angel, I'm not one to read. The angel knew. Allah knew he couldn't read. What are you talking about? And then the angel recite, and before he recite, he changed the language to recite in the name of your Lord, Ikra. And that's what happened. So the prophet was consistently reciting the verses that came, the scribes, his companions that could write, and overseen by Bilal also, those verses. So there are verses that were recited that was given to him in Mecca, and there were verses that was given to him in Medina. So you see the Quran is like that. You see that such and such came down in Medina, such and such came down in Mecca, blah, 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 to and fro. And when they were in Medina, some of the community there were Bani Israel. We don't talk about no Jews. All this Jew-Christian thing was not there. Right? Allah mentioned Jew, he don't mention Christian. And I shouldn't say was not there. Allah mentioned that he didn't name a people Jew. So that was being used, not Christianity. Allah called the children of Israel Bani Israel. And this person that we know, we gain to know that was first called Christ in the English language and was Yeshua, is Isa. How did Isa become Jesus? Whoa. You understand? And now you got some Muslims that just want to communicate and, right? They say that we accept Jesus. And we don't know who Jesus is. So how can you accept something that you don't know? We're told about Isa. Allah never tell us nothing about no Jesus. So you see, some people accommodate in certain things, and this is how we are, though. And if you can go to some places, man, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of volumes that people wrote against Islam, against the Quran, and against verses of the Quran, not against the Quran. That's what human beings do. Assalamu alaikum. I don't know how comes this.